Okay, first question will go to Bruce Cooper, Channel 12, followed by Kellen Olson, Arizona Sports. Bruce Cooper, you are on.
Hey, Devin, give us an idea of exactly what things are like for you guys now that you're past that quarantine period.
Days just consist of practice and getting to know yourself. So a lot of downtime in the room. Practices are 3-hour slots with the option of coming back later at night. So, it's real training camp vibes. Just really practicing and hanging out in the room. For me, that's a lot of Call of Duty time.
Okay, the next question is from Kellen Olson. He'll be followed by Dwayne Rankin, Arizona Republic. Go ahead, Kellen.
What's up, Book? So I was going to ask you about adjusting to the bubble and everything, but I know the biggest adjustment for you is life without the pup. How are you handling that? FaceTime calls? What's the deal? Yeah,
it's been tough, man. Then I had to Google it. I guess dogs can't see your face on FaceTime, so I'm not even getting the reactions out of them that I want. It's been tough, man, but, I send them back to training, and, I'll see them soon.
All right, Dwayne Rankin, Arizona Republic, followed by Richard Sines, Channel 10.
Thanks, DC. Devin, I've seen a couple pictures of you in Orlando. I see that smile that only basketball can bring you. How has that been being back in the gym and then mixing it up with guys? And then, two, just your reaction to the news of the day of Westbrook coming out saying he has COVID.
Like you said, man, just being back on the court, you feel unleashed. I've been out there getting my individual training in, but you can't emulate, some good 3-on-3, 4-on-4, 5-on-5, getting up and down, some good bumps. So, that's always going to put a smile on my face, getting the chance to compete. I haven't seen a lot of the guys in a long time. So, this is our catching up time, and we're getting a lot of time together. So, it's been fun. And, I seen the Westbrook news earlier. I'm praying for his safety, his health. And same with his family, and hopefully he can get healthy, get down here, as soon as possible.
Okay, now we have Richard Sines, Channel 10. He'll be followed by Mark McClune, Channel 3-5. Go ahead with your question, Richard.
Hey, D-Book, good to see you, man. Miss you. Kind of a two-part question here. How anxious are you to get on the court and play these games? Just because I know when the lights are brightest, you like to shine the most, and also as a team. How much noise do you think you guys can make in these 8 games?
Man, honestly, we're taking it day by day. But like you said, man, it's not about the lights being, the brightest they can be. It's about just getting a chance to compete and, keep solidifying myself in this league. So, that's my main objective. And, I know that's going to come with wins and the growth of our team. So that's what we're working on here. So like I said earlier, it has a training camp atmosphere like in the gym, and it's very fun to be part of, and it's been a lot of competing going on.
Okay, next question comes from Mark McClune, Channel 3-5. He'll be followed by Gina Mizell. Go ahead, Mark, with your question.
Hey, Devin, thanks for the time today. Just kind of going back to when the NBA season got shut down, I think we all heard your reaction as it hit social media, but just how you kind of processed that news and how you also stayed competition ready, game ready in quarantine. How'd you spend your days?
Honestly, like everybody else, man, just a lot of at-home workouts until I got comfortable enough in a circle where I could work out individually with, my father and my brother, very tight-knit in private gyms. But just trying to keep my body strong. Right now it's more of, trying to get my wind back, but, everything's still intact and ready to go. So, I just been lifting, getting my body ready, to be ready for, I knew they were going to come up with something. So, I'm ready for this bubble action.
Okay, the next question comes from Gina Mizell. She'll be followed by Cody Cunningham, Suns Content. Gina?
Hey, Devin, you sort of just mentioned your goal to keep solidifying yourself in the league. Monty mentioned a few days ago he thought you'd probably be gunning for All-NBA. Is that something that's on your mind? Just like, hey, this is an opportunity to really have a nice, strong finish to the season and maybe push for something like that?
No, that's not necessarily on my mind. Actually, not at all. When I say solidify myself, that's just, keep bringing the competitive mindset and the competitive nature to the game, and just try to take my game to new levels, take this team to new levels that I have yet to reach. So I'm trying to get there, and trying to get there quick.
Okay, now we have Cody Cunningham, Suns Content. He'll be followed by Dave King, Bright Side of the Sun.
Hey, Devin, just wanted to get your thoughts on being given the opportunity to put social justice messaging on the back of your jersey, and if you plan on having anything on the back of yours.
Yeah, I think that was really good. I think the Players Association, Chris, and them fought very hard for that. And, being probably the most viewed sports coming up soon, I think it's a perfect platform, for all of us, to take a stand and give their word. So, we're all coming up with something to put on the back of our jersey yet. I don't know if anything's confirmed yet, but I think there's a list of, 20 statements that we can put on there, which is going to be, great for the NBA and, great for this movement.
All right, next question is from Dave King, Bright Side of the Sun. After that is a follow-up question from Dwayne Rankin, Arizona Republic. Dave, go ahead.
Hey, Devin. Recently, both Monty and DeAndre Ayton have talked about how he's stepped up his game a little bit this year and talking more on the court. And even since coming back into this training camp atmosphere, you and he are talking even more than ever before. Can you give us some insight into that as to his growth, your opinion on his growth this season on both defense and offense, and you guys' connection on the court?
Yeah, man. I mean, it's a growing relationship, that we're still working on. Obviously we're both, pretty young in this league. I have a couple more years in him, but, like I said, we're both trying to solidify ourselves. We know that's going to come with the success of the team. So, we're working on pretty much everything. Like you said, the communication, the dialogue is open between us. I know seeing the game from different positions is, a very big part of it. So, me trying to understand him more, him trying to understand me, it's just how you grow as teammates. It's not just DeAndre, it's the whole team together, in our communication, both offensively and defensively.
Okay, next question comes from Dwayne Rankin, Arizona Republic. He'll be followed by Kellen Olson, Arizona Sports. Dwayne?
Yes, thank DC. Devin, the comfort level inside of the bubble, what's that? Is that a high comfort level for you? Because obviously, we've got this virus that's out here, but the NBA is doing all these things to try to keep guys safe. So what's your comfort level right now?
Yeah, I'm chilling, Dwayne. I'm chilling, man. I got my game, I got FaceTime, and I got a gym, so, I'm putting my head down, getting to work. We had a lot of time off. So, I've been itching for something to do. So, getting back in this routine is, a nice routine to be in. But still staying in the mindset of control, control what we can control, and, just keep my head down and keep working.
Okay, now we have Kellen Olson, Arizona Sports. He'll be followed by Lindsey Smith. Go ahead with your question, Kellen.
Devin, pretty much everyone is ruling you guys out of this already with how far back you guys are, but it's only 8 games. It's only 16 days, and you guys have gotten hot over that kind of stretch before. What's your mentality going into this, and how does it remind you of kind of past basketball environments you've been in, like AAU and so on?
Yeah, very similar to AAU. I'm sitting in a facility that, I've played in many times before already, through the AAU days. But like I said, when it comes to people counting us out, man, for me, it's just, we're trying to get better and make some noise. So, we're going out there, we're going to compete at the highest level. We're going to try to win games, and, that's that. There's nothing more to it, and putting expectations out there, especially during circumstances like this. We just want to be known as a team that plays hard and plays together, and, we're building that chemistry.
Okay, we have Lindsey Smith up next, followed by Richard Sines, Channel 10. Go ahead, Lindsey.
Hi, Devin. Just to follow up, you gave us a little bit of a glimpse into a day in the life in the bubble, but can you go a little bit more into depth on your video games and maybe who you're playing with out there and how many hours you log?
Oh, man, I can't tell you how many hours I logged. They have these little rings we got to put on. They'll tell you everything, though. No, but I've been playing a lot of hours. I don't think my body's completely adjusted to, East Coast time yet. So I've been staying up to 3, 4 and sleeping in surprisingly to around noon where I could never do that at home. But, I'm going to get adjusted by the time the games start getting kicked off. But, I'll probably be getting, 5 to 10 hours of Call of Duty a day. So, something that I'm not too mad about, honestly.
Okay, next question comes from Richard Sines, Channel 10. He'll be followed by Greg Moore, Arizona Republic. Go ahead, Richard.
Hey, Devin, you kind of talked about, building that chemistry and relationship with DeAndre Ayton. When you look at this time that you guys have here, isolated this training camp, these next 8 games, how valuable is it for the whole team to get together and work together and get to know each other, and especially when you got a new coach and such a young core group of players?
I mean, it's very important. I think, this is a unique time. Even training camp before the season is usually 4 or 5 days. So, getting this real quality time together, over a month worth of, training and, not just basketball. We're in the weight rooms together. We're doing, a lot of activities together. We just watched the team movie yesterday, during the day, so it's a lot of downtime, a lot of time to put in work. And, I think that's good. It's brought everybody's fresh. It's brought great energy to practice, and the competition level's been very high.
Okay, next we have Greg Moore, Arizona Republic, followed by David Brandt, Associated Press. Greg Moore, go ahead.
Hey, thank you. Hey, Devin, good to see you, man. Actually, I have 2 questions now. I didn't before, I do now. I used to work at a video store. Back in the 90s, we had stores you would have to go to get a movie. I'm curious, man, what did you guys watch yesterday?
Uncomfortable Truth.
Yeah?
It was a decision by Monty, and he said that was the one thing he had lined up for us this whole time. I'm sure we'll do more as a team, but he wanted us to watch that film, and it was a really good one.
Thank you. The second part, man, you've been bubbling for a long time. You won a 3-point shootout. Then this year you all-star. Now you guys have qualified for this initial 8, which is in some ways it's like making, the earliest stage of the playoffs. I'm curious, are people responding to you differently now that you're taking these steps forward?
People as in, who are you talking about?
No, that's a great question, man. I'm thinking like teammates or maybe your colleagues around the league, like your opponents, other coaches, just people in the NBA bubble.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like I've had that respect for a few years now from my peers and around me, and I've spoken on it before, the people that are actually in the trenches. But nationally, media-wise, I'm not sure, honestly. That's for my brother or somebody to get mad at and tell me. But, for me, like I said, I'm still trying to solidify myself. I have heights that I want to reach that I've yet to get to that, I'm going to continue to work extremely hard to get to.
Okay, the next question comes from David Brandt, Associated Press. He'll be followed by Paul Richardson, The Sports Cave. David, go ahead with your question.
Hey, Devin, thanks for doing this. You were talking about your chemistry with DeAndre and how that's evolved over the years and everything. Obviously you two are really important, but you're both very different players. Like, what have you learned about how to make him at his best and him at your best? Like, what has anything surprised you about that relationship, and how do you get him to kind of achieve it at his highest level too?
No, it's not surprising. I think that's just all relationships, I'd say, on and off the court. You just have to get to know somebody and put them in situations and learn by being in the fire together. Because you can have a plan until you actually get into action and actually see how somebody responds to certain situations. And, that's usually how I'm determining people is, through experiences with them. And, we've had a lot with more to come, like I said, and this time right now of, like I said, already with our practice, how high the competition level is, and how you guys spoke and how you heard how vocal he is. He takes strides every day. And that's our main goal, is to get a little bit better every day, not keep making the same mistakes, and, get this team where we need to go.
Okay. Did we just do Paul Richardson? Okay, Paul Richardson, The Sports Cave, you're next, followed by Evan Sidery Forbes. Go ahead, Paul.
Devin, 2 quick things. One, how good does it feel to have so many healthy teammates with you going into these last games? And then 2, you talk about video games. DeAndre Ayton pretty much said he doesn't want anything to do with you anymore with video games. Could you expound on those 2 things?
You know, it feels good, like you said, to have players healthy. You know, it's tremendous. You know, obviously after what we dealt with, you know, through last season, that many teams go through. So that's the main priority: help keeping people healthy, and you know, coming out this quarantine. That's the most positive thing that I was looking forward to. Everybody had time to, you know, rest their bodies and get their feet back underneath them. But as far as the video games, the DA, no comment, man. We seen what happened. He is the 2K player though. Still, I still don't play 2K very much. Call of Duty is my only game.
Okay, the final two questions come from first Evan Sidery Forbes and then Sean Hyken, Bleacher Report. Go ahead, Evan.
Hey, Devin, just wanted to ask, just during the time off, around 4 months, just what kind of work you put on. I know obviously you had a lot of time off there, but what was it like just during those 4 months off? What did you end up doing on the court?
Yeah, honestly, the first month, I didn't do pretty much anything on the court. You know, I was just trying to keep my body right. Like I said, the at-home things with lunges, push-ups, sit-ups, everything anybody can do at home. I didn't have my gym yet in my house. Now I do. But that was pretty much it. So the second month, you know, like I said, I found a bubble with just me, my dad, and my brother. After taking precautionary steps and making sure we were healthy, you know, we all worked together in a tight bubble. And, you know, that's just, you know, it brought me back to high school for real, just working out with my dad and my brother and just getting better at the game. So, you know, all aspects of the game, like I always say every summer, is what I'm working on. And being in there with my dad and my brother was, you know, actually a really good time for us.
Okay, Devin, the final question of the afternoon comes from Sean Hyken with Bleacher Report. Go ahead, Sean.
Devin, going back to the news about Russ for a second, with, you know, a few guys, you know, names starting to come out testing positive outside of the bubble, and then also a couple of guys in the bubble, Bruno Caboclo, another one, like as far as like having to breaking quarantine and then having to come back into quarantine. Like, how are you feeling at this point about all the measures that the league has taken to keep you guys safe while you're in the bubble?
I mean, I understand I see both sides of everything that's going on, man. But, you know, my job is to keep my head down, keep working, tunnel vision for me. But I am praying for everybody's safety and their health, for them and their families. So, you know, let's make sure everybody's safe, take the actions that we need to do. And that's that.
Thank you, Devin, for your time. Appreciate it.
Ready in Orlando.
All right, Coach. The first question comes from Kellen Olson, Arizona Sports, followed by Dwayne Rankin, Arizona Republic. Go ahead, Kellen.
Hey, Monty, you guys are coming up on a week now, as I'm sure you know, being away from home. Obviously, it was a weird adjustment to be around family so often, and now you're going to be away from them for such a long time. Just what's that like for you, and how are you coping with it? Obviously, a lot of FaceTime, I bet.
Yeah, I mean, that's been the biggest drawback for me is being with my family every day and having quality time with my boys who are at an impressionable age, and being able to talk about, you know, basketball, life, social issues, different things that come up for a teenager and now a 10-year-old who's, you know, looking at everything his big brother does, and just quality time at my house. You know, some of the best times at home happen when you're doing nothing, you know, and you're just at the dinner table or outside just kind of goofing around. You have those organic, authentic moments that, you know, make your house a home. And so I miss that. FaceTime is cool, but it's not the same. It's hard to, you know, choke your 12-year-old son through FaceTime. And every once in a while, I want to just grab him by the shoulder when I'm on the road and just say, don't do that, you know. And you try to make the most of that quality time when you do talk to him on the phone. But it has been tough being away.
Okay, Coach. The next question comes from Dwayne Rankin, Arizona Republic. He will be followed by Tim Reynolds Associated Press. Dwayne, go ahead with your question.
Thanks, DC. Coach, obviously with the news of Russell Westbrook, you worked with him at OKC. Just your thoughts on that. He said he feels good, but just your thoughts on Westbrook.
That was all you wanted to hear, is that he feels good. This virus is so unpredictable. Anybody can get it. You got one of the best athletes I've ever seen in my life contract it. That should humble anybody. And so when I heard about it and I saw his quote that he was feeling good and doing well, I was, glad about that. I hope Nina and the kids are well also. It's a condition, a virus that does not discriminate. And, we're trying to do everything we can to keep our guys safe. But I was glad to see his quote. Russ is a guy that I've spent time with on USA Basketball and in OKC and competed against him. And, you want all the good players here in this environment, and so we can find out who's the best. But we also want everybody to be safe and healthy. And so I hope that he's on the road to recovery.
Tim Reynolds, Associated Press, is next. He will be followed by Lindsey Smith. Go ahead, Tim.
Thank you, DC. Monty, you mentioned working with Russ in USA Basketball in the past. I'm wondering, as you put together your plans for these 50 days, 60 days, million days, however long we're here, did you go back to those experiences you had with Coach K as being part of those staffs, and as far as how to put together 2 months away from home and all that good stuff?
It has forced me to dig into the archives of that time with USA Basketball. I've heard a lot of the players say that it reminds them of AAU, but for me, it reminds me so much of my time in Spain at the World Cup, because it's a bit longer than the Olympics. And we had a lot of days like today where, you get up and get to the gym a little bit later than you normally would. And you have one setting of practice, and then you could be done for the day. And you have a lot of free time. And so, we're going to try to not overdo it with the free time, but we have some things in store that we hope the guys will like. Last night we watched a movie together as a team, and it was really cool to see their reactions to this particular movie. And then, we have so much time in the hotel. Nobody's really rushing to get back to the hotel, so we spend a lot of time on the court talking about life and music and all kinds of stuff. And so you're absolutely right. It reminds me a ton of USA Basketball, and I'm trying to, tap into all of the experiences with Coach K and Boeheim and Mr. Colangelo, and Tibbs and I were just taking notes every day because it was a new experience for us.
Lindsey Smith is next on the line. She'll be followed by Mark McClune, Channel 3, Channel 5. Lindsey, go ahead with your question.
Hi, Coach. You just mentioned the movie last night. Devin also told us about the fact that you guys watched the Uncomfortable Truth documentary. Can you just tell us why you chose that documentary specifically, and then maybe what the conversations were like afterwards, or what you hope the conversations will be like?
That particular movie, it's one I've watched 3 times, and I thought it was fascinating to hear a white person tell a story, a historical, factual story that his family was involved in, and how it impacted slavery and African Americans for decades, and the courage for Loki Mulholland to make a movie like that. And I thought it'd be a good thing for us to watch as a team. Even if we didn't talk about all of it, I think it makes you think. There's so many facts in that movie that many people are not aware of. You know, most people aren't aware of what the GI Bill was really about. Most folks, especially young people, may not know what redlining is. They may not understand, you know, Abraham Lincoln's stance on slavery before the Emancipation Proclamation. And, you know, I think facts remove assumptions. And, you know, a lot of times we get ourselves in trouble, especially people who have a microphone, when we start to talk about things that we assume. And I think if we can educate ourselves and educate, you know, our kids and educate guys in the NBA, it can remove assumptions. And once you remove those assumptions, I begin to understand someone else's background. And, you know, when you understand their background, I have to make a decision. Am I going to accept that person, or am I going to, you know, pass judgment? But at least I know some facts. And so I thought it was a great movie. Not, you know, I'm not saying it's the best movie, but I thought it was a great movie to sit there and watch as a team. And afterwards, just watching the guys' faces, I think some of them will watch it again because it's one of those movies you can learn from. And I've expressed to them, without trying to be overbearing, when you find out these facts, to try to look at it through the lens of love and understanding. And it's hard when you watch this stuff to not get emotional, but sometimes the emotion can take you to a place that you can't recover. And so I've talked to them about, you know, when you find this stuff out, you know, have an understanding heart and try to look at it through the lens of love, so that we can be better going forward. We cannot change our history, but we can learn from it. And I'm not quite sure if we're learning from it. And so I'll do my part. This is an action for me to, you know, be with some guys that I care about deeply and share with them some things that have impacted me, because slavery impacted my family. I know where a portion of my family came from. And it's pretty heavy when you think about it, knowing where, you know, which plantation your people came from and knowing where your name, Williams, came from. That's a pretty heavy thought. And so I shared some of that with those guys last night. And to see their eyes looking at me, it was pretty cool, but it was also, I wasn't surprised. And so I was thankful to have that moment with the guys.
Okay, the final two questions of the afternoon go to Mark McClune, Channel 3-5, followed by Greg Moore. If you don't get your question in today, he will be back tomorrow. Mark, we'll start the last two questions with you.
All right, thanks, Monty. And I want to follow up on what you just talked about. I mean, it's just you researching your family history and how much that meant to you, and how much did that change you?
My grandfather, my paternal grandfather, did an in-depth study on our family, and he documented generation after generation all the way back to this particular plantation in Lenoir County, North Carolina. And he shared it with me, with our family over 10 years ago. And at the time, I was so affected by it, I didn't even say anything, you know, because I was just blown away that, one, my granddad would do that. And then I started to think about the ramifications of, you know, that particular industry. You know, the business of slavery is the business of human misery. That's exactly what it is. And to think that people who were in my lineage went through such horrific conditions and in a horrific situation, and all the work and sacrifice that so many people did for me to be in this position. It was pretty heavy when he told me about it. And when I talked to him on the phone, he's 87 years old and sharp, and you know, I'll ask him a question and he can tell me, like, quickly, you know, this is where, you know, your auntie lived over here, and this is, you know, that kind of thing. And so it was amazing to find that out. And I can't wait until my kids get older so I can share it with them, where they're at an age where they really want to know. that we have it all documented, at least on one side of my family.
Okay, and the final question for today, Greg Moore, Arizona Republic. Go ahead, Greg.
Coach, good to see you.
Hey.
Just curious, man, how did you first hear about Uncomfortable Truth? And could you tell me about your personal experience the first time you watched it? Who were you with? What were your immediate reactions, conversations? Any of that stuff, please.
I was on Amazon Prime, and I was just looking at different. I'm a documentary history guy, and so I'd watched World War II. I'd watched Trail of Tears, and I just want to know more about different people's backgrounds and histories. And so when the George Floyd situation unfortunately happened, all of these platforms put a lot of movies on for free. And I saw it, and it looked like something that I would watch, Uncomfortable Truth. And then when I saw it, the guy who made the movie was a white guy and was telling the story of his family and how they were a part of the slave trade, and how his mother grew out of that and was a part of the Freedom Riders. And it just impacted me in a way that was, I keep using the word heavy. And I was by myself when I watched it the first time, and I'm watching it and I'm just texting a lot of my friends and family like, hey, you got to watch this. And I sent it to my daughters who are older and just told them, like, when you get a couple of hours, watch this. And, that's how it happened for me. And, once you do all of that, you just think, when I get a chance, I'm going to recommend this to some of the guys in the team, and hope it has a thought-provoking impact on them.
Thank you, Coach.